Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I know it's only been a couple of days since the last one, but since I made that one I have been looking into the whole thing about gray reversal, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how complex that is, because for me l-tyrosine helped, and of course people in the comments were asking me if I was going to continue to take exclusively l-tyrosine after the current one supplement runs out, or if I'm taking copper and other things like that. And I thought, well, I think I want to take a look at exactly what goes into this, because for me, I'm pretty sure I had copper levels and B12 levels all right. Like I said, I've taken multivitamins and stuff like that for years, and that really had made no difference for me. So then I thought, why is it l-tyrosine for me, and could it be copper for somebody else? So I thought, what exactly is it that goes into reversing your hair color? And turns out there's quite a lot. I only watched a few videos to just get an idea of what other people were talking about. There were a lot of people talking about B12, like I mentioned last time as well. There were people talking about stress. Apparently some people can go on a holiday and have their hair grayness reversed. I've never heard of that before. Some people apparently manage that. That seems like magic to me. But so if you're really stressed, then maybe try to work on your stress levels as well. Try to relax every once in a while. And another thing that I saw was, of course, B12, copper, l-tyrosine, I already mentioned that, but there could also be an excess amount of hydrogen peroxide in your system, and I didn't know we could have hydrogen peroxide in our system, but apparently we can. And that, of course, dyes, or rather bleaches your hair from the inside out, and then it could get really light that way. And in order to take care of that, you have to take catalase, although you can't really take catalase as a separate supplement. Well, you could take it as a separate supplement. I do believe you can buy it like that, but that turns out to be a waste of money, because apparently that gets broken down in your digestive system and it doesn't quite reach the hair follicles. And so what you need is a precursor to that, and that turns out to be N-Acetyl-L-Cysteine, or NAC for short. So I've also gone and gotten that, even though I already have the gray hair reversal going on. I figured, why not go and make sure that I also don't have super high hydrogen peroxide levels going on in my system that I'm just not aware of. Because of course it's quite a lot going on. I think these are only just a few things that have something to do with your hair color, and ultimately, of course, deficiencies affect more than just your hair. So if you have deficiencies, you're going to notice in other areas as well, or maybe you won't notice it in other areas either. Because apparently I've had this deficiency since I was at least in my mid-20s, when I started to notice the first collections of gray hair on top of my head. So who knows how long I've had that deficiency beforehand, and how long I need to take these supplements to fill it back up to its normal levels. And I wouldn't say that I had a very terrible diet during those years in my mid-20s. Of course, most people ate the same way that I did. Mid-20s people tend to have a balance between healthy food and I just want to eat this right now food. Now, I couldn't quite tell you exactly what you need to eat in order to not have hair graying so early, but I'm guessing that what people would consider to be a healthy diet will at least help a little bit. And then, of course, you could have deficiencies just because the way your body works. I kind of think it works a little bit like, if I were to put it in an analogy, it's kind of like us trying to get our own orchestras to sound good. Like, we have a whole bunch of people sitting there in a concert hall. You got a bunch of cellists, you got a bunch of violinists, you got people on drums, you got whole sorts of people sitting there that are like professional musicians, and you have them playing a certain piece that's going to be your piece to play, and it just doesn't sound right, and you're not really sure what the issue is. So you think, okay, maybe if I add a few violinists here, what if I put like another celloist over there? So you keep trying to play the music over and over again, and the parts where you added the violinist or the celloist do sound a little better, but there are certain areas that just sound like there's something missing, or there's just some type of discordance going on. It's not very good. And one day you're randomly looking through Craigslist, and there's an ad for a bunch of musicians that just want to join an orchestra for a while because they want to get experience or whatever it is. I don't know, I've never actually hired people off Craigslist, but just say that there's a bunch of people there and they all have different instruments that they play, and you're like, okay, why not? We can just do that for fun and see what happens. And then you add them, And it turns out that the clarinet player really adds a big chunk to your composition. So that is something that you've been missing this entire time, but you never knew that you missed it. And that's kind of like how I try to explain the whole deficiencies and trying to figure out what your deficiency is, because I don't think I could walk up to the doctor right now, go into the doctor's office and say, hey, my hair is gray, could you run a test to see exactly what nutrients are missing in my system, because they want you to specify like what are your problems aside from gray hair. Obviously, I think if I were to ask my doctor like, hey, can you do something about the gray hair, he's probably not going to be super happy about that, because most people just kind of resign to the fact that once your hair is gray, it's going to stay gray. And if anybody's told you that you can reverse it, they're probably just quacks and trying to sell you some snake oil or whatever it is. And they're not going to be interested in entertaining that thought pattern for too long. So I don't think that they would have a test ready. So if I were to go to the doctor and say, hey, I'd like a test taken for mineral or vitamin deficiencies or whatever, amino acid deficiencies, because that's also a part of it, I think they would start by asking what my symptoms were. And honestly, I had no symptoms other than the gray hair. So that's the only symptom I would have. And like I said, they're not going to do much about that, because they figure, well, after a certain age, you're just going to be gray. Some people get gray earlier than others. You just have to accept the fact and let's just move on. So I couldn't tell them like, oh, I have this type of soreness, or I have that type of anxiety, or some type of tiredness at a certain time or certain points during the week or anything like that. So they wouldn't really know what to investigate. I don't think that there's currently a test that you could do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's tests out there that are specifically for this type of thing. Like maybe there's a brand out there that does this type of test, so you can go ahead and buy supplements from them or something, which of course will then come with a premium because you have to take the test and everything. That costs money. Lab testing, though, tends to cost a lot of money, so I would expect that even if there was a test out there, it's going to be pretty expensive. Most people don't have the type of money to throw at figuring out what type of deficiency they have just for their hair, because that seems pretty vain. And, it can make a really big difference, though, for some people. Some people are really not ready to have their hair go gray yet at like age 30 or something. And they don't really feel like dyeing it, and they don't have the money to go to a salon every couple of weeks, because the growing, of course, keeps going. And after a couple of weeks, particularly if you have dark hair, you're going to see the roots really fast. So that's always a bit annoying. At least I was really annoyed with dyeing my hair. That's why I said last time as well, I was actually on my silver hair journey. I was going to let it get lighter and lighter each time until it was so light that it wouldn't actually make a difference whether I dyed it or not, because it would just be silver, and then I would just let it grow. And some people are not ready for that, so they have to figure something out. And if they could figure out how to reverse it, if it's possible for them at all, and then not have to worry about that again for however many years, that would be ideal. So I'm just going to keep looking at the whole gray hair reversal thing, because I think it's quite interesting. You almost need like a chemistry degree to figure out what's going on, or to even pronounce some of the names that are involved, because I've also come across quercetin and ubiquinol and the D-L-methionine, which is something that is in my supplement, that last one, which is more for hair growth, but I guess it's like a hair stimulant factor or something along those lines. There's a lot of ins and outs involved in your hair alone, and then the color comes second, of course. Another thing that I kind of wondered about, and this is just my personal ramblings, is when I was looking at the roots on my head, I noticed that the roots that are kind of in this area are darker, like up here and like that. They're kind of darker than down here, and I was wondering if that has something to do with the amount of sun that your scalp gets, like in different places, because of course the sun tends to be right on your head most of the time, and that's where the roots are the darkest. So I wonder if also the sunlight has something to do with it, like how much sunlight you get, because our cells do need light, even if they might be in areas that are kind of like hidden from the sun usually. So maybe that also has something to do with how much sun does your scalp get. So I was already kind of experimenting with my infrared lamp, which has LED lights, not regular heat lamps, because that's bad for your hair overall. So I have an LED infrared lamp that I actually just had for like muscle aches, and I thought maybe if I like start shining it on the side of my head, that maybe these areas would start to darken up as well. I don't know. But that's an experiment that I'm also looking into trying out on my own, because that might be fun. But anyway, I'll keep you guys updated on the hair in general. Make sure to leave some questions. Of course, if there's too many questions, I won't be able to get back to everybody, but I'll try to keep an eye on the videos. See if people are leaving comments or not. So, and then I'll try to make a video afterwards, perhaps maybe answering some of those questions or giving my best attempt at answering the questions. In any case, good luck on your gray hair reversal journey. I'll see you in another video, and bye bye for now.